the company since 2004, and we operate in over 200 countries across the globe. We do a turnover about 15,000 vehicles, and at the moment we have about 137,000 vehicles. Now, coming to the question, that's a basic introduction. Coming to the question, the effects and what has been in the market, especially with the effects of the COVID-19, which has seen most businesses collapse, while others are able to grow. Others are changing the direction. That's how I would put it. Is that there has been challenges from the as B-Forward, the vehicle exporter, and one of the ways that we have been able to avoid huge challenges coming with the effect of COVID-19 is making sure that we are able to invest hugely on the systems. This has been able to sustain the business even during these COVID-19 situations, where you find now with the 1 meter distance, with the matatus in Kenya being controlled in terms of how many passengers you can put in a car, it has also put other people on another question. Is this the time now I purchase the car? Is this the time now I start thinking I need to have my family in my car and not having them to be in a matatu every other day? Yes.
All right. Well, so we've been talking about how best we can shape this space, how best we can get to uplift the space into a scenario where we focus much on the manufacturing sector by upscaling the delivery of vehicles and spare parts, at this point. Well, this, even as COVID-19 rages on, what would you consider to be as the progress that we've made?
I think one of the progress the Kenyan government has made, and it's commendable actually, it's the current plan in the manufacturing industry, where we are seeing that the number of vehicles being manufactured locally, it's actually increasing. I was checking out the data for the year 2020, the year 2020, you realize that the number was had increased in comparison to all the previous years. The idea for having the vehicles manufactured locally has been with the government since the era of Moi, and it's progress, taking shape every other year, I would say. Now, the manufacturing industry itself is also very much growing. If you look at the roads now, the infrastructure is getting much better, and I believe that's one of the big four agendas for the current Jubilee government. There is a lot of growth in that line. When we are looking at the manufacturing industry, and that's where B-Forward comes in heavily, is to try and see how can we support the government when it comes to the roads construction, as well as the buildings. Nowadays, there's so many buildings coming up, and when the road or the infrastructure is smooth, it makes all these other processes, including the logistics. This is the vessel from Japan to Kenya. Now, one of the challenges I would like to mention is regarding the current situation where there is a ban on the always I get confused with these two words because from my point of view, the importation. Now, the importation of used parts is what was banned. This was in 2019. I had a previous discussion previously, and we were also looking at the same. You find that there are so many customers in Kenya who are looking to purchase these used parts, what local people call them the ex-Japan. Their quality is very good, they are durable, but unfortunately that was banned by the government in 2019. And the introduction was people need or ought to only bring in new parts, not the used ones. Now that had a challenge on B-Forward as a company, and I think also so many other shops along River Road could have closed down because then they don't have that capability to supply the customers, the everyday customers. Now, allow me just to bring in an example and ask, when you drive on the Kenya roads, you'll find that people write the number plate of the car on the windshield, they write on the side mirror, they write on every aspect of the car because of the fear of that my side mirror could be knocked down along River Road and the next day sold to another person because there is a shortage of these parts in the country.
Oh, all right. Well, that's interesting. And I mean, that level of theft has been so high in the country today. I mean, we hope that such can be addressed. But let's go back to your argument on the fact that we've registered, progress in terms of course, the units that we speak about. I look at about this report, the very same report that you're referring to, speaking of 798 units in September 2020, that is up from 768 units in August 2020. Well, probably good progress, but do you suppose it could have been more? It could have been different if we're not talking about the ramifications of COVID-19 today, or if we had streamlined or much more streamlined, policies and systems?
That's a very good question, and it is unfortunate my answer may not be very positive to this because we are looking at capacity. There are 3 vehicle manufacturers in Kenya at the moment. This is the Associated Vehicle Assemblers, there is a Kenya Motor Vehicle, and there's another company. There are 3. Now, when you look at the data, this is also available on the KEBS, the Kenya Bureau of Standards, you realize that their production capacity is 34,000 vehicles within a year.
Okay.
So let's go back and look in 2019 how many cars actually came into the country. Is 130,000 vehicles. But you're saying that that's why I'm mentioning the capacity part. 130,000 vehicles is what the Kenyan people want. These 3 companies you have, they can only do 34,000 vehicles for the EAC, not Kenya. Out of that 34,000 vehicles, 15,000 vehicles is what is designated for Kenya. This is for Kenya consumption.
Okay.
Now, 130 we want. 15 you can provide. 85.5% is a huge shortage.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say there is 100% capacity to be able to supply the market. And secondly, is if you look at the in the year, I believe last year, 7,800 cars is what the Kenyan market consumed, even though there is 15,000 which has been consumed. It means they have taken about 50% of that. There are also other challenges that comes into that. One is the price. You find that the price is a little bit high, which if you're looking to to import from me Toyota Vitz, probably the rate I would give you would be 50% of what you would get from the local assemblers.
When you say 50%, you say 50% more or 50% less?
Less.
50% less. And therefore, so
even
when we're speaking, how then do we? Sorry, go fast.
Sorry, go ahead. Okay. Now, what I mean is, for the price of one, I give you 2 cars. I think simpler.
Okay. All right. So how then do we then strengthen this market if such is the scenario? And we all acknowledge that there are ways and means that we can use. We just have to be a little bit patient to get these cars, at more affordable rates from abroad.
Now, what I believe, I see there's a huge potential. There is some of the reports that I'm putting down, and I find there's a lot of potential for the Kenya to be able to sustain the market. But at the moment, it's still very much relevant to continuously engage these vehicle exporters to also find out what could be done differently. I mentioned the example which you are very familiar with in our Kenyan roads. I'm from Kenya myself. This challenge of spare parts. Now, if there are no spare parts, unfortunately, another market of other spare parts from the black market is also created. So if there is a step-by-step, what the Japanese people prefer to call Kaizen. This is a continuous development on new ideas, how to improve and to be more efficient. Then I believe there could be a time where we would say, probably before we need to come and set up a huge, big office to do some of these works there.
What are some of these lessons that you're picking from there that you suppose we probably are not working on well, or we should incorporate to make sure that we get to such levels?
the information is there. Previously, I worked in Kenya for a couple of years, and I would say this. I worked at a university, and information is there. I believe, from my point of view, this being my opinion again, is that this information, some of it is just lying somewhere. Somebody has this information, somebody read it through, somebody decided it's not yet time. It is unfortunate, but there is so much of to-do items in the file. So in the, should I say in the library, all this information is out there. Now, if there was a way to constantly check, is it possible? Is it capable? Is it doable? Those are smart decisions. Then it's possible that these changes could take effect.
In the near future, what do we envision? A scenario where such industry will crop up within ourselves as a country, or maybe we might just have to get individuals, investors, or so to speak, targeted.
I would ask you, just if you don't mind, just to paraphrase the same question.
All right. Well, my point is this, that we are seeking growth. And in most cases, we say, we have the capability within. And, numerous occasions we say, what is this that we can do as a country? What is this that we can, focus on as a country? Do we have the capability in terms of manpower? So in the near future, do we foresee a scenario where we'll have our very own cropping up, or we might just have entities from different countries again coming to invest or in this line?
There is actually possibility. There is a high potential. I see this. I may not be able to see the fulfillment of it. It could come at a much later date.
Okay.
However, now having mentioned that, is if constantly, these direct investors, they are also very important for the country's growth. I would like just to point out one example is that BForward, as a vehicle exporter, has hired so many people across the globe. It's not only in Kenya, but also in other countries. We are looking at over almost 500 agents who are supporting our services in those countries. Now, it may be seen as if this is an exporter coming to set up an office, coming to do all these locally. But at the end of the day, you realize there is wealth creation and employment and training. Now, if Kenya was to get into the line of fully say, we are going to invest in the assembling of vehicles or the selling of these vehicles, the information to process that sale, to finish the process, is already available. For example, with these local agents who are there in Kenya, who are serving the Kenyans at the moment fully. What I mean is, you don't need maybe to call Japan directly to say, I need to buy this car. There is somebody on the local side who can be able to to issue an invoice to you, advise you on payment, advise you on the tax payable to the Kenyan government. So all this information, all this training has already been given to the Kenyan people.
Okay.
So when that time comes, a step at a time, shifting into this line of let's do assembling of 100% now, these are the same people who will be shifting from this direction to the other direction, because livelihoods have to continue.
All right. Let's look at it generally, and also what it is that you do as BForward, specifically in regards to shipping, and equally coming in to support the manufacturing sector in the country. What plans are there? What plans are underway? What alters you? What delays you?
BForward, as I mentioned, is a global exporter. Again, just to look at this from all the countries, 200. So our main focus every now and then is to continuously grow into every other market, and also not only offer services, but also offer training for the local people, offer employment to the local people, advisory to the local people. I may sit on this side, but I'm still fully on the local side, also trying to understand how best can we work together from the BForward, from the bringing a link to see how best can all these solutions be given. Now, some of the stoppages, I would say, if you look at during this COVID period, I don't want to digress away from it, is that there were challenges which are very realistic. If you look at in 2019, if I sent an email to TV47 and I say, can we have a discussion online? The answer would be, no, just come to the office. But now, you see, we have had to learn through these COVID-19 situations that there are also other ways to do things. If somebody was asked to work from home maybe 2 years ago, the assumption would be, I have been fired. The assumption will be my services are no longer needed in that company. Mm-hmm. But now, because this is a bit of the new norm, so people are starting to adjust accordingly and also try to see how best can we handle the situations. In November of 2020, there was a huge decrease in terms of the vehicles coming in, and one of the main challenge was the vessels. There was a challenge with the vessels coming from all over because the vessels had now focused on the essential goods. Now, what are these essential goods? You are working from home, you need a laptop. You're working from home, you need this item. So the focus on bringing vehicles was put as a secondary in comparison to what really people were looking for at that time.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's be more particular on what it is that you do. And probably I know sometimes you speak across because just like I'm in the media, I would tell you almost everything that is happening on other stations and or other entities that are in the same business with me, given the travel restrictions that we have today. So how has B4 been able to sustain its business? How do you suppose then the other entities or other institutions are equally able to make their businesses stay afloat even as we await to see the end of the pandemic or as we await to adjust to living with it?
Okay. Now, B-Forward, how we have been able to be in the market, I always love to say that we were there, we've seen these challenges, and I think I find our systems are very user-friendly. Now, one is that we have a system we call the pre-PI system, whereas you don't need somebody to be able to really, you don't need to call somebody to be able to issue an invoice. We understand the process of purchasing a car is first you receive an invoice, then you go to the bank, you make the payment, then after that the vehicle is shipped from Japan to your door to Mombasa. Then from Mombasa you do the clearing process, you pay the tax to the government, you pay the clearing service fee, and the vehicle is delivered to you. Now that entire process can be done simply with people remotely working, apart from only one aspect, which I always call the bottleneck, because without the people at the port, loading and offloading cannot be systematic, done through system. It has to be manually done. Now, one of the ways that we have been able to sustain ourselves is through the pre-PI system. The example of the system I mentioned. This is what the local agents you find in Kenya are using to reserve vehicles. If right now you call the local agent office and you say, I've found this Toyota Vitz, it's 2014, I like the good mileage, I like the color, everything, they will be able to actually issue you an invoice. And immediately that invoice is issued, that vehicle on our website is marked reserved. Means nobody can actually try to look at that car. Now, the second one, which is very efficient, is a buy now service. We have a buy now service where you can actually buy yourself. You don't need to call any person. You don't need to, how do you put it? You don't need to call any person, email any person. You just go on our website, you type in, you check the vehicle that you want, you click on buy now button, and it will ask you a few questions. You just respond yes or no, okay, basic information, and then after that, you receive an invoice. Now, the payment part, this one, I appreciate the Kenyan government in terms of putting these infrastructures in place. And also the banks in Kenya, you realize that they have mostly gone online. So when you go to the payment part, you can actually make that payment at the comfort of your kitchen or sitting room. You can do this payment online. Once that payment is completed, then it means the next step from our side, we will receive that confirmation, we will receive the payment, we will do the inspection. For Kenya, we require inspection. We will do the inspection of the vehicle, and the vehicle will be shipped to Mombasa Port. From Mombasa Port, for dealers who also may be listening to this conversation, dealers, they have their direct contact with the dealers, with the clearing agents in Mombasa, for example. If you don't have, we actually also provide that information. So we have the D2D service. So Once the vehicle reaches Mombasa, you receive an email telling you your vehicle is arriving. For example, the ETA is on the 7th of May. These are the estimated taxes that you need to prepare. These are the estimated clearing fee, all these details. You're able to receive that to your email. From there, you just proceed now to make those payments locally, and the vehicle will be taken from Mombasa Port to the doorstep. Now, if you look at that whole cycle, the only part that required a bit of manpower or labor is basically in Mombasa Port. But all these other operations, they are being done through the system. So if it's correct to say that the system then comes in to assist highly, especially during these COVID-19 situations.
Okay, well, I'd love to know the duration that it would take for one to get a car. Well, depending on the country, and in this particular case, it's Kenya. But I'll come ask that question after this short break.
Okay.
Raukia siku njema na tunukiwa offers kila siku. Pata offers zote mahali pamoja ili uongeze zaidi, utume SMS zaidi na ubrowse zaidi.
Wewe usijali. Tuma namba ya kila supplier kwa hiyo soko. Ndio nitaongea na kila mmoja wao.
Very good. Piga *444# utunukiwe Credo double.
Raukia siku njema na tunukiwa offers kila siku.
Oh, hi. It's not what you're thinking. It's a cup of coffee. Coffee, movie. Together, Coffee with Movie. Every Sunday, 8 p.m. on TV 47. Where we bring you interesting, enticing people. Well, we've concentrated on musicians.
Yeah. Yeah.
Producers.
So now I manage, because telemanagement and events management, I think was my passion.
Right about now, we want to go beyond to the counties and to other countries. I'll see you. Let the sun stand still like Joshua times for 3 hours. But this time for only 1 hour, we bring you Coffee with Movie. Interesting, enticing guests. I'll see you. Tunaweza anza tuna Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru, twende Uganda, Magufuli Land, TZ, you never know. It is Coffee with Movie. Jua unaweza enda sasa.
Okay.
Before the markets open, farmers begin their day, each with a desire to produce the best. But how can they increase the numbers, maintain the standards,
Aitoi ile garlic inafaa itoi, that standard garlic.
reduce the cost,
We spread our risk.
and yet remain the best? Kilimo Diaries, every Sunday when the clock...
Well, still with me is John Mutahi, who's the B4 Senior Manager South and East Africa Group, as he joins us all the way from Japan, that is virtually, expounding some more on the car business or the vehicle businesses and how it has been affected at this point of COVID-19. And so let's speak on the aspect of duration. Then one would be, curious to understand, once I get into your site, I identify the car, follow all the processes. How long would it take for the vehicle to land or get into the port somewhere in Mombasa?
All right. Now let me allow me to point a picture. of customer A. Let's say maybe Wamaitha. Wamaitha is a customer. Wamaitha identifies a car on our website. Wamaitha likes the car and makes all the processes to the point that she pays for this car to be shipped. Now, immediately after the payment is confirmed, what happens is that there is a booking stage. Now, we will now book that vehicle. First is for inspection. According to the Kenya government, any vehicle coming into the country must be inspected and must be verified to be fit for the consumption of the Kenyan people. Now, one of the requirements is you cannot buy a car below 2014 as the year of manufacture. The vehicle you purchase ought to be 2014 and above as of this year, because it has to be 7 years old maximum. So now this vehicle has been identified. The vehicle will be taken for inspection. Inspection will take from 1 week for the entire process to be done. After that, we will now arrange for shipment of this vehicle. The vessels now from Mombasa from the port here in Japan. There are a couple of ports. From the port here in Japan to the port of discharge, which is Mombasa, it will take approximately 4 weeks. If it goes beyond that, it will take about 4 to 5 weeks. Sometimes there is a changes. Sometimes there could be a delay, or there could be a case, for example, what happened in Suez Canal recently, which there was a blockage for the passway. So if there is those kind of challenges, it could take 4 to 5 weeks. So you're looking at estimately 5 to 6 weeks total period that the vehicle will have left Japan all the way to the port of discharge in Mombasa. If I was to just make additional now, once the vehicle is in Mombasa port, and it has already been offloaded from the vessel, it may take 1 to 2 weeks. This is during the verification by the Kenya Bureau of Standards. Additionally is a verification that you have also made the payment for the taxes. And thirdly is the clearing process. So this may take 1 to 2 weeks before the vehicle now fully actually gets out of the Mombasa port and probably comes to your destination. Maybe it's in Nairobi, maybe it's in Kisumu, or maybe it's in Webuye, anywhere in the country. We have those delivery services. But you find most people say, I think, it's my time to do a road test for my car. So most people will go to Mombasa, and from there they are able to drive to their destination.
That's true. Okay, well, on the findings, different, so to speak, especially on the other markets, are there any interesting findings that probably are to note on the processes of importation of vehicles?
No, I would say that each market has its own restrictions. Each market tends to have their own. I would say, for example, the regulation for Kenya is 2014. Okay. The regulation for Uganda is 2007. The regulation for South Sudan is a bit unknown. There is no strict regulation. The regulation for which there's some countries which want the left-hand cars. There's some countries which will only do the right-hand cars. If you checked on our website, we have vehicles from about 9 countries actually at the moment. This is Thailand, Singapore, Dubai, Australia, and other countries. So you find that we have vehicles to meet different markets. In DRC Congo, for example, in this case, you find they want left-hand cars, but also right-hand are also okay. Burundi, Rwanda, those are the French-speaking. They would mostly you find the left-hand cars, but it's not necessarily stuck on that. So there are various countries with different operational regulations, I would say. When it comes to the effect, if I'm to focus on this question right here, when you look at these markets, the effect was not, for example, on one market and another market is okay. The same vessel that will leave Japan going to Kenya, it could also be the same one passing through Durban, passing through Dar es Salaam, passing through, different ports as it's offloading all these cars. So the challenges that were there were experienced in all the countries. However, we do also realize there are some countries which also to go the Kenyan way, trying to do to have local assembling points for these vehicles on the ground. which I think one of them is also Rwanda, is also trying to follow this process, and Kenya also is on that line. But others, you may not find those strict regulations. I think Kenya is one of the countries that follows very strict guidelines when it comes to vehicle condition.
Why do you think it is so?
Actually, it is. When you're bringing in, for example, if I diverge a bit just into this, I always call it the $100 million business. This is the spare part business.
Okay.
Now, spare parts, we are supplying spare parts to most of the countries across the world, even the US. I know you would actually pose this question if I told you that you can ship a car to the US, which is 25 years old, but you cannot ship the same car to Kenya.
Oh.
It may look a bit, why is it so strict? Only has to be this, but this other market is okay. Now, the regulation for Kenya, I wouldn't say they're very strict. They're very careful for the Kenyan people, and they're also very selected few inspection carry out this operation. You find previously it was a QIS, which is Quality Insurance Services Japan. Now we have EAA, we have ATA, and there are also others. So basically the requirement for the vehicle that you receive, if you go to most yards in Kenya, there is a perception, and always people say this, which is 100% correct. I'm going to buy a brand new car. These are the vehicles in the yards. If you look at the condition of those cars, it's crystal clear. They're very clean. The systems inside are in very good condition. If there is dent, it has already been scratched, cleared. What I'm saying is, if a car has a small scratch, that scratch could make a car not pass inspection, whereas every other part of the car is 100% clear. So a scratch is a bodily damage, but that is what may make a car fail inspection. So we are also very careful on the cars that we send to Kenya. We also have to do a vigorous check to make sure that these cars are what is required in Kenya by the Kenyan government for the Kenyan people.
Right, amazing. So what is being done to cushion customers and dealers as at now?
As at the moment, in regard to the tax, there is an item called the CRSP. I'm not sure if you're very privy to that. There is CRSP is a current retail selling price. Now, what the government of Kenya does to calculate for you the tax, how much you need to pay as tax for this Toyota Vitz or Nissan March, how they calculate is they look at a brand new car. Let's say a Toyota Vitz, brand new. How much does it cost? Okay. Then that brand new cost is what is the current retail selling price. Then they would depreciate that car based on the number of years that car has stayed. For example, if it has stayed 5 years, the depreciation will be about 50%. If it is 6 years, the depreciation is 60%. If it is 7 years, the depreciation like that. So the depreciation is based on how the year of manufacture and the current retail selling price of the same car. So you do find that much newer cars, tax is higher. For example, a 2017 car would pay higher tax than a 2015 or 2014 car. Why? Because I think you have a longer span also to live with it in comparison to a 2014 car. So the tax is based on that. Now, I always say that we may not be able to come in and lobby to cushion we will, but to lobby the government towards tax reduction. We may not be able to come in there fully. How we do to cushion our customers is, again, this CRSP is not only based on the year of manufacture, but also on the month of manufacture. We understand this very well. You may actually find that you're paying tax difference of about maybe 150,000 depending on the vehicle. If the vehicle arrival date, it's 1 day difference.
Right. Well, now that you mentioned something to do with tax, I think it would be fair for me to remind us and you to and the viewer back at home, that will be starting a session, an interesting session starting next week, hopefully, on just enlightening us on different tax brackets that are there, and we just get to school ourselves on what it is or what they require, or so to speak. And so therefore you can be rest assured that I will also have a session on the CRSP without doubt.
Yes,
so make sure that you always keep it here every Tuesday, so at least you get to learn some of these things. I mean, especially if you're landing yourself into business, a majority of these you might need to know. And it's been a beautiful business, so to speak, exporting and importing of cars across different parts, but then one that very many people dread and fear. Why is it so?
Sorry, let me ask if you could just maybe repeat just the
question.
I'm saying, I would really
it's
appreciate.
Been a very lucrative business, so to speak, importation and exportation of cars across different parts of the country and of the world. But there's so much fear in regards to this. Again, I can almost tell you for free that no matter how convincing you sound, it will be hard for someone to just get that belief that they can reach out to you, go to your website, and take all these processes and have their car land into the country. Why do you suppose it is so?
Now, one thing is that there are so many. I think every day with the systems being very good, and with also other people not being very good, basically not using the system how it's supposed to be, with also many hackers on the ground, it's that fear. I always say, if you go to a place and you buy good coffee, you will only tell one person, but if you buy bad coffee, you'll tell 100 people. Now, that one person who may have tried to buy a car online from whichever source, and they failed, they told 100 people. But that one person who actually followed the process, that person told one person. It's the rule of business. It's really, I don't know how else to put it, but that's basically how it is. So you find there is a customer A whose money was they lost the money through a business deal that they were not very keen on, or probably the other person played on them too much, and they felt they lost the money. Now, this person will actually be the one passing this message. And why I would say it's not supposed to be the case is because what I've put for straightforward is that B4 does not only ask you to rely 100% on online purchase. They are giving you other options to verify this information. We have had companies purporting to be our agents. We have had other people putting up information like maybe, for example, B-Forward agent, or even another company's agent. This has also been a discussion that I previously had with the Embassy of Kenya here in Japan. It's unfortunate, but the much we can do, or any other company can do, is try to offer more informational centers on the ground. Kenya, for example, we have one big office in Mombasa. It's called Trent Motors. We have another office in at the junction, Kiambu Road Junction. It's called Urban Drive, and also others to try and support this. We also have an office in Eldoret, office in Madaraka. So all these sources are places where you can go and verify. These are offices. These are not briefcase. There are briefcase offices. I believe you're very aware of those. These are not briefcase offices. These are
okay. We acknowledge that this is a lucrative business, and for you in particular as B-Forward, and therefore I'll be sending my invoice right after this for allowing you to do all that marketing that you just did right there. Otherwise, John Mutai, thank you so much, John Mutai from B-Forward, or he's the B-Forward Senior Manager South and East Africa Group. It was good having you this morning, and I'd say all the best even as you soldier on this tough terrain characterized by the effects of COVID-19. We look forward to have another session with you, even as we'll be speaking positive of all this in regards to voter or to vehicle, sale and imports and exports across the world industry. It was good having you. We close it at that. Thank you so much for your feedback and for keeping me company right from the